Do your feet hurt?
Does it ever feel like no one quite understands the nagging pain your foot feels every single day? Do you ever feel like you're taking one step forward and two steps right back into dog shit? Well, that's no fun now, is it?
Many people struggle with different types of chronic foot pain. Oftentimes, pain is felt here, and yes, even here. Well, you might have plantar fasciitis. But wait, you've done nothing wrong.
Why, you've even got a brand new pair of shoes. You're running 3 miles a day now. What could it be? Do not trip, fam. You might just have heel fat pad syndrome. Curious? Stick around to find out exactly what heel fat pad syndrome is.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Go, 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 go.
You know, I think we can all agree that some of the worst types of pain are not only the types that linger and nag, but the type that disable us from things in life that we love, or just even going about our daily business. Now, I'm not only talking about back pain, but foot pain as well. I mean, how many of you have ever had a run-in with plantar fasciitis, or plantar fasciosis as we call it now? But seriously, the foot, if left unattended, can serve as a center point for a lot of musculoskeletal problems that we face today. And quite a few of you are likely already familiar with plantar fasciitis. But have you ever heard of calcaneal fat pad syndrome? Now say it with me. Calcaneal fat pad syndrome. Yes, a sensation so irritating one can only say it's rivaled by that of a Chevy Silverado tailgating you in bumper-to-bumper traffic. If you're that Chevy, please stop. Point being, believe it or not, you may not have plantar fasciitis, and you may actually be suffering from this condition instead. In fact, it's the second leading cause of heel pain in the world. Plantar heel pain is the most common musculoskeletal complaint in the foot and accounts for more than 1 million outpatient visits annually in North America alone, affecting about 18% of adults. So do you have this? How do you know? Well, imagine standing on some concrete floor. Now, imagine standing on concrete floor for a few hours. Why doesn't it hurt right away? Well, forget about your comfy brand name shoes for a second and let's take a look at the feet. Underneath your heel bone, or calcaneus, sits a fatty mass of tissue that's supposed to serve as a cushion, a buttress, a shock absorber extraordinaire. Most of the time, it's fine. You handle your business and it handles business for you. The problem arises when we either go through a sudden change in activity involving our feet, such as walking or running, or causing repetitive trauma to this area via bruises and very harsh weight-bearing activities without appropriate time for rest and recovery. It's the same as wearing down a set of tires. The more mileage covered, the more wear and tear we introduce to those tires. And the same goes for this fat pad. Worst case scenario, we don't treat it and the fat pad atrophies, leaving you with some bone on hard surface contact that can feel like walking on a pile of hot. Now, you may have tried treating it in a similar way as plantar fasciosis, only to your dismay find out that it ain't working. Now, does this sound familiar? Good news is that it is treatable and it can go back to normal, and it doesn't involve stopping physical activity entirely, but it does require some special attention and adjustments to your routine until then. Now, how do you stop it from getting worse though? Remember, at the foot of it all, heel fat pad syndrome essentially has 3 main causes. These are mechanical causes like having pronated feet, externally rotated feet, and even obesity. Degenerative causes like an increased foot pronation of the heel fat pad, atrophy, and age. And systemic causes like rheumatoid arthritis, systemic lupus, gout, and Reiter syndrome. Now, in order to truly put a stop to heel fat pad syndrome's reign of terror, you're more than likely going to have to address one of these as the root cause. But until then, there are some common approaches to refer to. Now, how do you fix this? Well, the first method is going to look like some form of taping or orthotics, or a combination of both. Let's face it, you're going to need to put some extra support under your heel in order to reduce the amount of wear and tear it's going through. In addition, this should make it so that you don't have to stop walking or running activities entirely, of course depending on how badly this condition has progressed, but the taping and orthotics will help. Now, the orthotics will help just like the tape, but to a greater degree, in that they will help reform and support the whole foot rather than just the one spot on the heel. Now, keep in mind, this all goes hand in hand with the ability to actually rest the foot and ice it when you're not using it. Next, you're going to want to look at the footwear you're using. Are they old? Are they the right kind of your feet? Are they Crocs? Something like excessive pronation of the feet is common, and as such, commonly contributes to conditions such as this one, so check out your kicks. Now when you've got that covered, it's time to focus on preventing this so it doesn't happen again. And that looks like taking the time to strengthen intrinsic foot muscles as well as the arch of the foot. I have a video on some of that here, but it is kind of outdated, so expect to hear from me again on this topic. Now this is an area which is more than often neglected, and you'll find the most basic exercises rather challenging. One suggestion I'd like to make is the alternating toe lift, wherein you're going to start by splitting your toes, then lifting up the big toe up and off the ground as straight as you can and holding it for 5 seconds. Then you're going to rest the big toe while lifting the other 4 toes and repeating. It sounds pretty easy, but trust me, this is a nightmare and it's pretty challenging when you first start it. Now, of course, this is only one example. Lastly, maintaining a healthy weight for your body will also help. Remember, the feet are under a lot of pressure to perform, ladies and gentlemen, quite literally. And the more we add to that, the more wear and tear we let them undergo. Okay folks, I hope I've given you just enough information to spike your interest on calcaneal fat pad syndrome here, or heel fat pad syndrome. I really do think it's quite the insidious source of foot pain, which is in desperate need of some attention because the worst thing you want to do is start rolling your foot bottom out with frozen cans and find out it's not actually doing much for you. So there you go. But until next time guys, you know what I always say, may the best of your todays be the worst of your tomorrows.